You want
Which
me to
country
tape your
signed?
you want me to tape your video then?
That, could you open that PDF?
I have.
Okay. So now let's, I'll go open it, look at it. So you can take, if you find unrest in a country, which countries do you know that had major unrest in these dates? Or whenever you hear of one, you'll know. So let's pick, well, 1968 did a whole bunch of them. You can see signature, 1968. Ascension, ratification, 1989. So you got to look at 1968 and 1989 probably would be good. So 1989, Algeria. Nigeria news. Oh, got another word. There you go. Economic rioting. Here you go. New York Times. Okay, ready? New York Times has in 1989 economic riots are spreading in Nigeria. See what they do? See? Right.
But they became part of them.
Forget, I don't care what I don't care what the media is, how they played it, and because what they do is they make new bills, they rename the company, they redo all this stuff to make people go to sleep.
So you mean
Karen,
it doesn't matter what day they
I've done at least,
signed, it's the signature of ratification in every country on these dates, things would have happened.
Yes, especially right.
What does an A mean?
Dates,
They've got an ascension. Ascension.
Ascension, succession, ratification. So that means Algeria signed it in 1968, and then in September, it went to ascension.
Well, some of them have got an A next to them, and some of them haven't. Algiers doesn't have an A next to it.
Okay, what's A say down at the bottom? Let's see. What's a footnote A? Oh, A for ascension.
Right. Some of them have
Look,
got.
it's right
Some
at
of
the
them have
top.
got a
A
D.
ascension.
Some of them have got a
Succession.
D.
Succession. D. Look at the top. Look at the headings. Ascension, succession. In brackets, it's got an A and a D. If there's nothing, it's ratification, because people call it different, right? Every country calls their changing of a law different.
And your point being exactly. Go on, explain it, because I'm a bit thick.
Okay, so you can take any one of these countries and their ascension, succession, ratification dates and go there. So you can put Argentina, 1986, right?
Mm-hmm.
And put news. And then you'll see the unrest that's there. Fake news. Because these are all people fighting against the government, like in Canada. But because there's no voice, they end up giving up because everybody goes, what are you talking about? You're on conspiracy theory. So that's what they did. Get it?
So all these countries are trying to get this stopped then?
No. All these countries' leaders are trying to get it stopped, yes, because they're on a nice payroll from the banks.
But the United States of America's in there in 1977, and the ascension date's 1992.
Mm-hmm. We had a huge recession then. Oh, look at the way the timing is there. I remember at Chrysler, I just started my job in October 1991, and then recession started hitting. They do that intentionally, so you don't understand what's going on. They make you busy. Get it?
England joined the 16th of September 1968, and the Ascension Day was the 20th of May 1976. Wasn't that all the coal mining riots?
There you go. Right.
But not since. So what are we going through now then?
what we're going through now is their last hurrah because the truth is all over the world. And hence the COVID thing. But the beauty part is it's aligned up with spirit too. Get it?
So this is what your video's about, all this?
No. I didn't make a video on it. I talked about it in the video with me, you, and David Jeremita.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you showed us all those diagrams and everything.
Anytime you hear a story of news and unrest, come and look at this document, then you'll see why. It lines up perfectly.
But this lines up for the past, not the future, doesn't it?
Well, the future is ours now.
It doesn't say, there's no, oh, I see, you have to wait for them to add another name with Ascension.
It's over now. And we're going to win this time because we have an internet, which is the collective consciousness, as much people think.
Right, you're saying that then all this was happening when they did all this before, that the internet, well, some of them were 2003, but the internet's come in the last sort of 10, 20 years, hasn't it? Like massively.
Well, and in the last 5-6 years, as far as Facebook, social media, and everything else, where we can group and conspire, or share, or whatever you want to call it. Conspire.
This is about the time you went to the moon as well.
Look at that, exactly. See?
1966. Sorry, yeah, 1966.
That says it right there. New York, the 16th December 1966, entered the forest. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. See how important this document is? That's why I keep saying it over and over again.
Does this mean it could happen to us again, though? Like I said, if ours was 19...
No, it's done. It's done.
So they run out of places then?
No, the thing is that they're corporations. All these countries are corporations. Those corporations are going to fold.
Are we a corporation then? Because we're in there. Does that mean the UK is a corporation?
Of course it is.
I know that we didn't become a country till about 1925. You think, really? That just seems really weird. You're not known as a country.
It's a corporation. And they all file with the Security Exchange Commission, so they can funnel the money through Washington, D.C., which is a UK corporation.
How many more countries is there to go? Surely there must be most of them on here.
Most of them, yeah. Well, it tells you right at the top how many there are.
Yeah, but I mean, how many countries do we have? How many more of these things we got to go through then? Parties, 173. Signatures, 74. Oh my God, we've still got another 100 to go then. Because they haven't got all the signatures yet. Oh.
Well, they're not going to, because everybody went sleeping, so they stop. Get it?
What, the early 200s? Because there is some 200s here. 2006. The Maldives.
Okay, but you got to look to see. There's 974 signatories, but yet they still brought them to us. Don't forget, 173 parties either signed, ascended, successive, or ratification. Because some people said, I'm not putting my John Hancock on. Look at Canada. Canada never signed.
It says signatures, 74, parties, 173. So we've got 101.
No, but look, how many of them have no dates whatsoever? Oh, I'm looking. None.
They've all got dates.
They've all got dates. So every one of them has either signed, gave it ascension, so in other words, another document. So some people didn't want to sign this document, but they signed their own document saying that they'll adhere to this, which they never have. And the first thing it says in the DRRI is that we'll be educated on this, which they never did. What they did educate us on is the Bill of Rights in Canada, which removes your rights. The Bill of Canada doesn't give you your rights. The Bill of Rights in Canada doesn't give you your rights. It removes your rights. It defines you as a person, a corporation. In every enactment, it says,
it's called a Human Rights Committee.
Right. So it's over, sister. It's over. Spirit wins.
It's very weird to me. I've never seen this before.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of information to take in on that one video, but I was trying to explain that on it. Watch it again now.
Yeah, so you have made a video then?
The one with me, you, and David.
Oh, right. Which one was
Go
that
watch it
then?
Go watch it again. It's a UK trickery or something like that. Let's see, I have it on my website. I might have put it also on my website. Yeah, because I just did a presentation on my website. Yours is with the whole hangout. If you go to my website, ayumi.com, who is this corporation called Canada, then you, oh, no, not that one, sorry. Where is it? Oh, there it is, yeah. Yeah, I do have one of mine, because what I did is I did a presentation and then I went through it with you guys on your show. You can watch this one or mine. Mine's called Law Trickery by the Profiteers.
This is talking about human rights. It's got this British one here. It goes, in relation to Article 14 of the Covenant, they must reserve the right not to apply or not to apply in full for the guarantee of free legal assistance contained in subparagraph 3. Oh my God, I'm confused already. Insofar as the shortage of the legal practitioners and other considerations render the application of the guarantee in British Honduras, Fiji and St. Helena impossible. How does, in relation to Article 23 of the Covenant, they must reserve the right not to apply first sentence of the paragraph 4. Oh, it must carry on then. It's all weird.
Okay, so I sent you the link for my videos. This is the one I did separate from that I discussed on your show. We watched it first and then we talked about it. So watch that video now that your head's in the right spot, thinking exactly the way you should be as far as what that treaty is. In that treaty is your human rights, and then every other corporation, which is also called a country, which they're not, to make you choose to be who they want you to be.
So what's the UN then compared to this?
What's the UN? The United Nations was good people at the time, but there's still good people there. They're no different. They got the wool pulled over their eyes.
Because everybody thinks that that's the New World Order.
No, people are misunderstand. The New World Order is spirit, sister. Okay.
It's amazing that they've been allowed to do all this. This is kind of what happened, like where I lived in my house, right? What it was is one day these people turned up and just sort of desecrated behind our house, and it was like, what happened? And then we found out that the guy had put the planning application so far away from our house that we'd never know that when he looked at that it was going to apply to the back of our houses. And it went on like that, and then we found out we'd got all these permissions we knew nothing about. And you know, like, I was in a conservation area, and the other side of the fence it was a brownfield area where they could do what they wanted. It's most bizarre how they do things.
Oh yeah, exactly, because it's all about how they make money.
I got the law changed.
Good for you.
Well, I didn't quite get the law changed, but what it was is, through me, because it was effective law, the county council had to change it. But they didn't change it for this area of Berkshire. They just changed it for Inkpen, Hungerford, Kintbury, where basically, where anybody wants to make a building, they have to write a circumference of area. So you might think, well, that's nothing to do with me. That's like 20 blocks away or whatever. But they have to write to a certain amount of people. But they don't here. But they've got the law changed there because it's law, and they don't implement all the laws. So they make the laws, and then they implement what they want.
Exactly, because they're a corporation.
Oh, that was so bizarre, but through me,
Chrysler can make any rules
all these people would now get written to because I went to the ombudsman.
Your ear still hurt?
But not in this area. How bizarre is that? It's only 10 miles away from the other area. I just think it's incredible.
Yeah, just greedy people. That's all, sister.
Who, anyway, laws and arse anyway. But oh, thanks for that. Maybe I'll hang on.
In this video, we'll be showing you how every country is hiding the real law, the supreme law that was signed by our foremothers and forefathers, also called common law, or law of the land. You will learn that about the corruption, de facto laws, de facto governments, and that this is crimes against humanity. First, a basic outline with some important dates and how the shell game begins. Detailed facts from real documents, then examples from different lands, including how they even keep the real laws from natives on every land. You'll come to learn important phrases like operation of law and de facto laws under de facto government. Here is Black's Law definition of de facto. I will read a couple sentences. This phrase is used to characterize an officer, a government, a past action, or a state of affairs, which must be accepted for all practical purposes, but it is illegal. You will soon learn that an officer, king, or government de facto is one who is in actual possession of the office or supreme power by usurpation or without lawful title. You will know that state party, aka country, is in breach of contract with international laws, making them de facto just with the education article alone. What do you think of when you hear the word or see the word person? What if we told you that it means a corporation, an entity? What if we told you that you have the right to be a person before the law? Everyone means humans. Did you know that? A right means a choice. Why would they give you humans a choice to be a person or corporation before the law? You will soon learn that if you take this class of person, you will get limited or only certain rights. Do you know how many different uses of the word person is in enactment, statute, codes, and regulation? A person can mean a corporation, an artificial person, a juridical person, a citizen, an Indian, a legal person, body corporate, servant, subject, fictitious person, moral person. If it means corporation, why would they not have two categories, a human and a corporation? Because you can't force illegal de facto laws against humans. Where are our rights, our full legal capacity? Our full legal capacity is in these signed documents that they don't want you to see. Don't take the words human rights lightly. These are human rights laws. More on that later. Let me introduce you to one of the covenants outlining the rule of law or supreme law. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. These documents were ratified by every country, 173 to be exact. This is the supreme law over any government, aka corporation. But what about the one king and his Magna Carta? Old news, you won't win in court with that one. Know that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written as a Magna Carta for all humanity. The Supreme Courts recognize UDHR as supreme law. Next is an important timeline on how all this went down. Remember these dates as you will see the stall tactics to set up the deception. As part of the International Bill of Human Rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was proclaimed in 1948. Then the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights were signed in 1966. This makes up the supreme law. These covenants freed the people from tyranny. I'm going to say that again. This makes up the supreme law. These covenants freed the people from tyranny. Why such a large gap between 1948 and 1966? Enter now the deception of the European Convention on Human Rights. In 1950, the deceiving ECHR was, quote, based on the UDHR and came out before the ICCPR and ICSCR in 1966. So why make another bill called the European Convention on Human Rights that must consider the UDHR? We already have our rights, and our foremothers and forefathers created it. We will show you proof that the EHR was created to limit your rights as a person/corporation and hide the human rights. You don't need the ECHR. It limits you, places you into servitude, bondage, slavery. Countries and corporations bound to the ICCPR. From ICCPR Article 2.2, were not already provided for by existing legislative or other measures, each state party to the present covenant undertakes to take the necessary steps in accordance with its constitutional processes and with the provisions of the present covenant to adopt such legislation or other measures that may be necessary to give the effective rights recognized in the present covenant. So you can see the corporation is a state party. Here is a Supreme Court judgment that confirms countries are corporations. Further, although Section 9(1.1) gave the Queen the power and advised the Senate, the House of Commons, to alter the Constitution of Canada, excepting certain designated areas, it does not confer a power to manipulate. The word Canada in Section 91 does not refer to Canada as a geographical unit, but refers to the juristic federal unit. You remember that juristic means corporation, right? Here's Black's Law Dictionary. Let's dig a bit more. Example, the Constitution of Canada. Chief Executive Officer is the Queen, and the Corporation of Canada is listed on the Securities Exchange Commission with a business address in Washington, D.C. and a mailing address in Ottawa, filing 18 Ks. How do you think they're getting money out of the countries? Setting the stage. This is when every country became signatory to the supreme law, sorted by date. Keeping these dates in mind. They were testing the waters with these countries. We've been tracking the mass media, distractions, fake news. There is so much more that lines up. For example, Martin Luther King, JFK, Robert Kennedy, invasions. They were invading, all right. Moving on. So now they test the water with Canada, the land of the free. Know that the Canadian Humphrey, a quote jurist unquote, was instrumental in creating the draft UDHR, protecting corporations' rights. Must be safe now for the UK, the stalling force, to sign. One day later than Canada. Here are more countries. Let's look at the powerhouse US, which signed in 1977 and ratified in 1992. Takes a bit longer for a country who has guns. What was happening in the US at that time? In the early 1990s, the US was in a recession. And there was a peak global unemployment in June 1992. Wow, what a coincidence. Here are the remainder of the countries, aka corporations, that are signatory for your review. So why did so many corporations, aka countries, attack Maldives' only reservation? From the ICCPR reservation section, the application of the principles set out in Article 18 of the Covenant shall be without prejudice to the Constitution of the Republic of Maldives. Here is how many times Maldives was mentioned in all countries' reservations, 113. What's in Article 18 of the ICCPR that they're worried about? This is key. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right shall include freedom to have or to adopt a religion or belief as a choice, and freedom, either individually or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in worship, observing, practice, and teaching. Look for the ors and the ands. Very important. Reading from the green text. Everyone's right shall include freedom either individually or in community with others. I will say it again. Everyone's right shall include freedom either individually or in community with others. Let's look specifically at the UK. Using Wikipedia for a key to the truth, look how many documents they use to strip your rights in the Constitution. You got common law, you got the Human Rights Act, you got international law. Today, the main source of jurisprudence is the Human Rights Act 1998, which incorporated the European Convention on Human Rights into domestic litigation. You only use these to show the breach in these supreme laws. Here is the proof that the UK signed up to the ICPPR, aka Supreme Law, in 1968. From Wikipedia, you can see that they incorporated, not mirrored, into national law in 1968. Upon ratification, the UK is telling you the process of acquisition and possession of citizenship. This is a common theme in all corporations, aka countries. Recapping. The Human Rights Shell Game in the UK. In 1948, the International Bill on Human Rights. 1948, UDHR. 1966, the ICCPR and ICSCR. 1950, European Council on Human Rights. 1998, Human Rights Act. And of course then, a whole bunch of domestic litigation. The UK has no constitution, but who cares? It's just a state party document, right? Not. You can see from the UK website that the government has proposed setting up a constitution. Stop right there. Proposed? Well, they're in breach of the International Bill of Rights, aka the Supreme Law. You must use this in all your claims. Whereas I understand and claim that the state parties must take steps to give effects to all rights in the international covenant through the constitutional process. What the heck? It's 2020. They signed in 1968. What are they scared of? Were not already provided by existing legislation or other measures, each state party to the present covenant must undertake steps in accordance with its constitutional process to give rights recognized in the present covenant. Moving on, we know that they're playing a shell game. We know they've set up limits. We know that they have something to lose, so they created a monstrous system of statutes, codes, and regulations when all you need is the ICCPR, the UDHR, and the ICSCR, totaling 41 pages. A large percentage is redundant and for corporations only. If you want to be free, you need to invest some time. Looking into the UK gets easy once you know the game. From the UK Interpretation Act 1978. Notice the dates between ratification and the Interpretation Act. They were forced to retain your rights and freedoms. Now from the UK Interpretation Act, person includes a body of persons, corporate or unincorporate. You are an employee or subsidiary corporation of the UK state party. The definition includes is important. Having the S implies nothing can be added or changed. A brief cap. This is the recap. This is the act you will use as part of your claims, the Human Rights Act 1998. Here's a caption showing what the government fears. This knowledge getting to policemen and women, their understanding of the supreme law and their duty to uphold over any government agency, hence the smear campaign against police. Let's dig a bit deeper to show you the proof about the class of person. As you can see here in the UDHI and ICCPR, this is where our choice is to be labeled as a person. From Black's Law 7th edition, the use of person, I won't get into these. Just know the game. You don't want to be a person, ever. You want to be a human being. Let's talk life, liberty, and security of the person versus human. Well, under life, a legal person is an artificial entity or corporation. When you're a human, you're alive. Under liberty, a legal person is controlled, statutes and regulations, jail, or a human is common law, do unto others, which can include jail time. And security of the person, well, that just means money in the bank. Example of switcheroo. In the Interpretation Act in Canada, in every act, person includes corporation. So there you have it. Remember, includes with an S makes it singular. So when you use the word person, it means corporation only. Now going forward, the Immigration Act does not redefine the word person. The Banking Act does, and the Criminal Code of Canada does. So in Interpretations Act, you can see, for the bank, a person means a natural person, an entity, or personal representative. So you can see that the bank is a distinction between natural person and entity. Why? Because they need to pay humans that find out that they're in breach of the international covenants. I just showed you the Bank Act. Person has many faces, but for the criminal code, they can't do that. You really only need two, a human and a corporation. So in the Criminal Code of Canada, you see everyone, person, and then they go on with all kinds of corporations. Why they do that? Well, they wouldn't have got away with the lie. They had to do this. Some examples of supreme law, fundamental rights, and human freedoms. ICCP Article 1.2, all peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations or right of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. In no case may a people be deprived of its own subsistence. That's natural wealth and resources. Article 47. Nothing in the present covenant shall be interpreted as impairing the inherent right of all peoples to enjoy and utilize fully and freely their natural wealth and resources. If you think you are covered by acts like the Indian Act in Canada, for example, think again. Canada has designated you as a person, a corporation, and did not tell you that they were still making illegal laws against you and lies since they don't own any land whatsoever. Remember, I will show you documented facts from Supreme Court rulings that they don't teach you about in school. Indian is a class of person, i.e. corporation, citizen of Canada. Feeble attempt to show you you're given a choice. More to follow from SPLS Pro and Udemy. Thank you.
Hey, we're back for a very riveting hangout right now with our David and our Claudio. Supreme Law. So evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. How you doing, Karen? How
I'm
you doing,
okay,
Dave?
thank you, Claudio.
What? Hello. I was on mute then. Good evening.
Yeah,
I'm very
right
excited.
now, David.
Yeah, I've pinned it. I've put a clip on it, so it's all good. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're here today, guys. So it's not. Oh, that's it. Right, we're there now. We're there.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I'm just going to briefly go, and it says it's got about a half an hour to upload to YouTube, so maybe I'll be through it by then. It's just that these slides are on top of each other, the images and that, so you won't get the full effect, but people can watch it later, I guess. Anyway, what we're going to talk about here, this joint partnership, SPLS Pro and Udemy, we're going to teach you about what supreme law is, which is the same as common law. I know people in Canada, it's amazing how they play with words. Common law, you think of marriage, but it's not. Common law means law of the land, the supreme law. You're going to learn about corruption, what de facto laws and government means, and that what they've been doing is crimes against humanity. So I go through a basic outline, detailed facts, examples from different lands, showing you how they're playing the shell game, and then showing you that even what they do with every indigenous person and how they've still deemed them a class of person. So remember, when you hear that word person, they're making you a corporation, a subsidiary of that country, a subsidiary corporation where they limit your rights. So you can see how we're being deceived through operation of law, de facto laws. So I'll just read a little bit here where it's highlighted. This phrase is used to characterize an officer, a government, a past action, or state of affairs, which must be accepted for all practical purposes, but is illegal. So thus an officer, king, or government de facto is one who is in actual possession of the office or supreme power but by usurpation and without lawful title. I'm going to show you that it's so simple. There is a clause, breach of contract, where they did not educate us that we have a choice to be a person. So here's the game. Here's how they limit you with person. In ICCP Article 16, everyone, which means human, has a right or a choice to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. So that means they're giving you a choice if you want to be labeled as a corporation, as an artificial entity. All right? That is your right. And those international covenants, and I'll show you that these are real, these are laws. These aren't just human rights, whatever. No, they're laws, they're signed, and everybody knows it because I'll prove it because they're meant to be in their constitutions. So here we see that person means corporation, artificial person, juridical person, citizen, Indian. I'm not going to read all these, but look how many uses they use and redefinitions of it. Why do they have so many classes of person, they call it? Remember that I don't want to be classed a person. You got to say that all the time, no matter what you're talking to anybody. If they call you Mr., if they call you doctor, if they call you driver, if they call you anything, no. That means person, which means corporation. I'm a human. I have full legal capacity. That means your full legal capacity is in the International Bill of Rights, which is the human laws. So you don't need any of these. You don't need any of that because these all limit you. You do what they say, put you in bondage, servitude. So here is the Human Rights, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR. It's the rule of law, it's the supreme law, and it's over every government, AKA corporation. 173 countries have signed, ratified, ascended, succession, however they want to play it. They're all in there. I've seen videos from people that show and prove that you cannot even form a country unless you go through the United Nations and sign these documents because that has the human rights in there. But what they also done in there is kept their buddies from being able to, they kept their buddies to be able to continue to take your money. So they're in the ICCPR. It has both corporations and humans. And it's pretty obvious in how to use it. All right. Now people talk about the Magna Carta. Well, you can see from the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the supreme law, is a Magna Carta for all humanity. When somebody says we need to rewrite the Magna Carta, they already did it. It's already been done. They've been spending all this time trying to hide it. And I can show you with all kinds of different minutia. Dave can contest to this. He can add to this so many different dates, what they did as smear campaigns when these things got signed, and you'll see more of that later. So starting with this, you can see down here at the bottom, the UDHR 1948, the ICCPR and the ICESCR were both signed in 1966. There's a huge gap. Why were they stalling? Well, the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, was made in 1950. This was setting the stage. You can follow the dollars, follow the smear campaigns in the media, on TV, that make you look the other way. So the International Bill of Human Rights, the supreme law, contains the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Sorry for this, guys, the video would do this automatically, which has the UDHR, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. I'll be referring to them as the UDHR, ICCPR, and the ICESCR. Anything that they've done, any other Bill of Rights they've done in any country was to remove your rights, to limit you. You got to know that. So here we go. ICCPR Article 2.2. We're not already provided for by existing legislative. Now, don't forget, they all signed this. That each state party, which means a corporation, which means a country, must put it in their constitutional process. Oops, sorry. If you see right here, you can see they must put everything that's in the covenant into their constitutional processes to give effect to the rights recognized in the present covenant. So just to show you, I'm just Supreme Court judgments. As far as I'm concerned, I will find proof. We will find a proof. Dave and I will find a proof. Supreme Court judgments are the supreme law, so they can go from court to court to court across the world. The word Canada, here's from a Supreme Court judge, does not refer to Canada as a geographical unit. In other words, it doesn't own any land. It refers to the juristic federal unit. As you've seen earlier, juristic person, see artificial person is a corporation. So the judge is telling everybody they're a corporation. They don't own land mass. They're just like a human rights management company to manage everything going around you, but they've done more than that because they were stealing us blind in our labor. So here we go. I'm showing you that the chief executive officer, this is from the Canadian Constitution. The chief executive officer is the Queen, okay? She's given the temporary duties to the Governor General. So the Governor General is the acting CEO. So you need to find out who your acting CEO is, because that's who you send your claim of right to. If you're not going to court and everything else, everybody should do this. Send your registration of live birth with a claim to the Governor General, whoever the acting CEO is of your country. Send them a claim. I'm putting them online. I'm showing you examples how to make a claim. And with David, we're going to do that for, I'm saying, I'm help David do that for the UK. Help people do it together, because he knows the UK more than I do, right? So, but this is all something that this will bring everybody together in the world. This will bring us together. This is one love. So here's how they set the stage. The UK was instrumental, so now we know where to follow the money, right? So here is, I'm just move some of these out of the way. Here are the dates that are sorted here's all the countries that signed in order of date. So you can see that Costa Rica started signing in 1968. I can zoom in here a little bit. Costa Rica's 1968, 1969. So what happened in the 60s? Remember that, right? There's like Vietnam War. Here's the things that we're tracking, showing all the staged events to keep you looking the other way. They are so ridiculously timed. And so now here's Humphrey, the Canadian, who was very instrumental in creating and drafting the UDHR. This is a known fact. You can look it up. So why is Canada the land of the free? Because they had Humphrey in there. Yeah, right. He was protecting the corporations, okay? He was protecting them. So here's the dates again, right? I told you about. And I'll look at here. Canada signed in 1976. One day later, Britain signed. The UK signed, sorry. Same thing, not anymore. I'm not sure. Dave could help with that one. So they tested, and then next thing you know, the next day, they ratified. So they signed. Canada didn't even sign. Doesn't mean anything. They're ratified. Because you can look in Canada's constitution. They tell you that they must follow the international covenants. They tell you in different ways. They don't put it right out to you. They make you find it. That's John Spirit from attorneyaware.com. If somebody wants to go follow this stuff, he does it for Canada, but he also does US, Russia, but it's all the same. So here we go. Now we got the US. So the United States took a little bit longer, 1992, because they got guns, right? So in 1992, look at this, early recessions. They did this intentionally. They put it into recessions. You're not going to have time to figure this out, because the word, all these signings and all these words, people knew. They were partying in the streets in the 60s and 70s. So they were saying all the freedom songs were coming out. They knew this happened, but they couldn't get the word out to us. So they pulled the wool over our eyes. In the early 1990s, the US was in a recession. Go figure, right around they signed. Look at this, peak global unemployment. See this at the bottom here? Peak global unemployment was in June 1992. How do you like that? Around the world, when the powerhouse United States signed, ratified, extended. This is just for people that want to look. You can go get this online. Like I said, I just sorted it. Here's all the other ones. There'll be always news surrounding all these invasions. When they talk about invasions, when you go back here, sorry, I'm going to move back real quick. When you talk about all these here, you will see all the different, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, invasions of different countries, Robert Kennedy, all these assassinations and all these different things surrounding them, whether they're true or not. I don't care to get involved with it, but I do know they're smear campaigns, so you don't find out the truth. So the other one here is, why the attack on Maldives? Maldives has a reservation. This is beautiful, people. Their reservation, the only reservation they made. No exemptions, no nothing. They just said the application of the principles as set out in Article 18 of the Covenant shall be without prejudice to the Constitution of the Republic of Maldives. Well, I started reading through some of the reservations, everybody's talking about Maldives. There's 113 matches of the word Maldives, and 3 of them belong to Maldives, 110 belong to everybody else. Here's Article 18, really important. This is key. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right shall include freedom to have or adopt a religion or belief of his choice, and freedom individually or in community with others and in public or private to manifest his religion or believe in it. So with all the ands or ors, you've got to really pay attention to the ands and the ors, because they make you think that this has to do with religion. It doesn't. When you read the green, it's everyone has the right to be free, either individually or in community with others. And I'm going to say it again. Everyone has the right to be free, either individually or in community with others. Thank you, everybody, so much for showing why everybody had such great reservations against the Maldives. So it's really important that you look at the ors and their ands. And here's some trickery in the UK. So this is from Wikipedia. They use all these different, they use common law, they use Human Rights Act, they use international law, they use Human Rights Act, European Convention on Human Rights, and domestic litigation. You don't need, the only thing, you see these red ones, the only time you need these, and the only reason why you need these is because you got to start with them to show how they've breached your rights in these 2 green ones. The human rights that come from common law and the international law, which is the bill, which is the UDHR, the ICCPR, and ICSCR. All right? So we know that the UK signed in 1968, and the Campaign for Incorporation, the first public call for incorporation of the convention into national law. So they're incorporating the convention into national law, was made in 1968. All right? Well, upon ratification, here's what they say in one of their reservations. The government of the UK reserve the right to enact such nationality legislation as they deem necessary from time to time to reserve the acquisition and possession of citizenship. So there you have it. They want to acquire and possess citizens, corporations, persons, slaves, servants, servitude, whatever you want to call it. It is a form of servitude. And there is an article that says they can't put anybody in servitude, and they're doing that because they're not telling you your choice. So quick recap, 1948, International Bill on Human Rights. These are laws, supreme law. 1948, 1966, the different covenants. 1950, the European Council on Human Rights. And then 1998, the Human Rights Act. And then their domestic litigation. You need these in order to show that they're breaching a fundamental human right and freedom. And that's where you can then seek remedy if you want. The judge has got no choice, so long as you do it properly. In Canada, if you don't use it right, there is a note that went around to every law person, officer, judge, attorney, crown attorney, Supreme Court. If you walk in there with blood marks on the paper, if you walk in there saying anything other than these laws and the way they're enumerated and the way they're worded and written, they mark you as a vexatious litigant. So as a vexatious litigant, they throw you out. They don't listen to you. They don't hear you at a hearing. right? There's certain words you got to do to start. You got to bring out the supreme law, and that's called, I'm here seeking the administration of justice. Those words bring out the supreme law. And then the judge will say, well, what you got going on? Well, the state party, Canada, is limiting or abridging my fundamental human rights and freedoms as enumerated in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, whatever it is for your country. You show them which article, which law that you're talking about that belongs to the corporation. You show them the international law that's breaching it. You're done. I'm simplifying it, but it ain't that much harder. And this is where we gain strength when we all have this knowledge. So this is, I'm gonna have to move some things around here, but so here is the House of Lords Library. And you can see, as of March 26, 2020, the government has proposed setting up a constitution. Well, wait a minute, they signed in 1968, and here we go. Sorry. Whereas I understand and claim that the state parties, you need to add these to your claims. Whereas I
You're doing good, Claudio.
Thank you. Whereas I understand and claim the state parties must take steps to give effect to all rights in an international covenant through the constitutional process. Well, there you go. The UK is in breach of contract, in breach of the International Bill of Rights, supreme law, because it hasn't even incorporated into the constitutional process. They know it's coming, though. They must know it's coming. We're not provided by existing legislation or other measures. Each state party, the present covenant, undertakes to take the necessary steps in accordance with its constitutional process. I've read this before for you guys. And recognize in the present covenant to give effect to the rights recognized in the present covenant. They haven't done it. They haven't even done it yet. Canada's done it. Many have done it, but they hide the fact. You gotta know and learn where to go and steer. But guess what? The communist countries, the ones they try to make us not feel good about, and they're not good people. Well, communism means common law. When you go look at the Russian Constitution, they show you your choice in black and white. You can be a corporation or you can be a human. That's why they call them communist countries, because they haven't quite fooled everybody there yet, but it's over. So,
wow, Claudio.
we know that they play the shell game. We know that they have limits, right? And they know that we know that they are trying to protect their money, right? Well, they have all these statutes, codes, and regulations that'll drive you nuts. But all you need is, look at this. The ICPR is 25 pages. To do the HR, it's 8 pages, and the ICSCR is 8 pages. There's a lot of redundancy between the UDHR and the other two because they got to carry them. But a lot of these are just for corporation. So out of those 41 pages, you may only need 10. You may only need to learn 10 pages and you're done. They don't want you to know that. It's that simple. Into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so the UK Interpretations Act, this is where you got to look to see where they redefine it. This needs to be in your claim. Interpretation Act 1978. Let me zoom in here. So Interpretation Act 1978, and note that the ICCPR ratified in 1976. They were forced to retain your rights and freedoms, but right after they did their ratification in 1976, in 1978, they defined a person. There's their definition. This is where you got to start. Person includes a body of persons, corporate or unincorporated. No, I want to be human. I have the right to be labeled as a human. Remember, I have the right to be recognized as a person before the law. So my right to be a person before the law, no thank you. I don't want to be a person before the law. No, I want to be human. I want my full legal capacity, right? Now this is important. The word includes, because they use the word includes up here, right? Is there a lag or is it following me?
You're doing good, Claudio. It's perfect.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so Black's Law 3rd edition includes. I'm not going to read all that, but basically what it says is the S, when you have an S in there, it closes it. It puts it in, that's it. You can't alter it, you can't add it, you can't change it. When if it says include, then that's open. And they use it. It includes the queen, but they can throw anything they want in there when they just use the word include, but includes closes it. And Dave's probably going chomping at the bit with that S there. I know he is. Which I know because he's seen it before. So you need the Human Rights Act. Dave and I are going to have to go through this more, to go look in detail what it is in there, right? To find out where the breaches are. So basically, you can take the articles of the International Bill of Rights and those covenants and place them against those and make a standard set where everybody now knows where everything's at. You're done. You don't need all this litigation and all this minutia. You really don't. But you got a claim to them. So I made this caption because, and I'm going to add it. I'm going to send Karen the link. I created a claim that outlines the whole process and gave it to people in Canada. And it's very simple to make it to any other country. You just got to change a few things. The rest is the same. But the claim there shows you that the police must uphold common law. So if you don't want to wear a mask, the policeman has to uphold your rights. We need to get this to the police. Why do you think there's a big smear campaign to the police? Because they use the police to uphold their corporate laws. But it's written very, very well that they must uphold common law first and foremost for humans. If you want to be designated a person, they can decide which one they use. Guess which one they're going to use? They're going to use their statutes, codes, regulations, de facto government stuff, right? Any questions so far? Dave, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll let Karen go first and see if she's got
Oh, no, that was it. Just, wow. Brilliant, Claudio.
These are additions to use to what we've already got in our armory, but we've also got the right. You've got the right. Man's got the right to choose just to use these on their own. This is what we're saying. There are certain applications. If you have a right to be recognised as a person, then you can decline that. You can respectfully decline the offer to contract, as we've found out under the true contract laws, to be honourable and correct and with clean hands. So agreements, contracts, offers, public commercial obligations and liabilities there, is what we find via the assumptive and presumptive. So for those that aren't really following and wondering why this is maybe so important, is because we live in a legal realm where we're considered public and liable, and we are private, albeit, apart from the considerations at the minute, and we've had claims put upon us. And if you don't claim, and put a claim in now, and change certain public, obligations, duties, requirements, expectations, then they have certain rules. This society, it's a law society. It's London City, the square mile, the United Kingdom for us over here, for the Anglo Britain scribes and initiates. But elsewhere, in America, you'd have Washington as your main area. So we look at these with regards to, you've heard him, Brother Claudio, mention UDHR, because he deals with this all the time. We're abbreviating the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948, and that is it's quite a historic document as far as it goes, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, but not Decemberish, I think, 1948, and the 58 members of the 58 members of the United Nations, 48 voted in favour, none had voted against, 8 abstained from that 58, 48 for, 8 didn't vote, and 2 did not vote. And the declaration's got lots and lots of articles in there, so different sections of it will be applicable for different scenarios. But what we're going to tailor is, where was mentioned previously, letting the officer know our claim. We have got a claim to make. You do in this realm, as we've said about benefits, you have to claim for benefits. You make a claim in a judicial realm, and if you claim it, you name it, kind of a thing. So you claim what you are entitled to. When you use your free will, we can't do it for you. Then these are rights, additional rights that you should rely upon, that are quite high. Whereas before we've used ambiguous parts of constitution, or we'll say Freeman policy methodology, and we'll say the sovereign aspect of it as well, the self-governing initiates of self, and then we've got trust law. We have ecclesia, the church law. You hear that word covenant. You have certain rights respected and given to you, socially, politically, cultural rights. And like I said, that question at the beginning, I'll be interested to see who answered what they think their human rights are. And you know, we are at war, to be fair, not a physical bombs and guns, but there's a lot of hardship, receivership, guardianship, boat people's ships moving in on our land and taking the I don't know, the assets, the collateral, the liquidity, and they're moving it to offshore havens. We have had you know, significant respect days of commemoration of the war that's passed, and that landings and D-Day, the Great Wars, and we were told, you know, lest we forget, and we were told lest we be deceived in the scriptures. So it's kind of, you know, the covenant there. That's the key word: religious, political, social rights, your rights, how you view your rights, and if you're going to give them away and submit them, then feel free to carry on. That's very well and good. And remain in the public and at the public liabilities and kind of as a debtor and in sin, where we are not here to preach, you know, such things as Christianity, Catholicism, or even, you know, vexate or aggravate. What we're here to do is to say we've seen a way through that. You've got to remember that these human rights, I've got there's many of them. He's mentioned quite a few that I'm not going to. We'll go through later, and we'll put them in the details and any, you know, notices and publications. You know, the breakdown of the different relationships, but they are normally international covenants, and a covenant is a scriptural, you know, reference there as well. And we will have to, you know, reword some certain parts and stuff. But whilst we are doing notices, and Claudio's picked up from, I don't know, Tube, Facebook, and our interactions, that we are looking at talking to higher levels of the government for correction on the administrative level, status, standing and capacity, then why wouldn't we talk to the others, the generals that are a part of the international army that are kind of on our side? If anybody out there was to be looked at as to being on our side, when we say, you know, the city of London, I don't mean that London city is alive. I mean that the entities and the corporations and the businesses, the persons that operate within that, under. In America, you've got American English. In France, you'll have French English. In Trinidad and Tobago, you have certain types of English. India, you'll have Indian English, and the legalese that's wrapped in there, the Latin and the other stuff that's, you know, it's very slicing of the atmosphere. You know, it's something that's respectable. And if you're going to notice and move your way forward in a corrupt state such as this one we find, London taking over, and London town taking over Italy, so they have the obelisks there. The biggest obelisk is in the Vatican, and the two obelisks in London, Washington. They've been allowed to take over the land masses of all the battles and the proclamations and the, you know, constitutions and the rights and the freedoms and the acts and the bills and the orders that we pass. We seem to be getting less better off. So we recognise that these additions will let it be known, you know, where there are war measures at hand here.
David. It's quite disgusting to make us wear those masks and make it legally binding when it can't be.
Yeah, that's your position, your persons, and as Claudio explained, you know, human, man, flesh and blood, whichever way you want to put it. So we've said grantor settlor before. So we have autonomous blood taken at a neonatal, you know, the Guthrie card for Yanglo that I mentioned earlier, to prove that blood, flesh, heartbeats, you know, souls are present rather than legal instrumentation. So you're legible by, that's like the human person, the entities, citizen, people, you know, monster is a creature. If you go to Black's Law and you look at the definitions of, when we look at people, we find that that's coming from persona, the mask, and etc. Humans, monsters, entities, creatures, they have no regard for us. We are classed as belligerent and deserting of a position.
We're just a commodity for them to play with. That's what it is. But
commerce, yeah.
Claudio, did you want to say any more then with what David said?
No, he's bang on, right? I mean, everything he's very well versed, very well studied in this capacity, and I know we're just going to keep getting better and better because we keep learning more and more. Obviously, they didn't educate us, so we got to educate ourselves. And Dave's done a great job educating himself, and from across the ocean, being able to use the collective conscious, aka the internet. It's here for a reason. It's here to get us out of this. It's here to get us back to one
Can
love.
I ask you something right now? You've covered quite a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to do any more talking right now, or just let the public see what you've done there?
There's only a few more slides if you don't mind.
Oh yeah,
and then
go
I'm
for
done.
it. Yeah, I thought you'd finished that. Yeah, go for the
this
slides.
part's really quick, but just so I finish this off, there's a couple little examples I just want to show.
Yeah,
and,
can I ask you something?
and I know we'll be doing more. We'll be doing more in deep, but this one is just to get you your head around the fact that you've been classed. You have been classed. You are segregated. You are 100% in servitude to them. So yeah, I'll just go real quick then. David, are you want to say anything else before I carry on?
Can I ask you something? Is the video that you're uploading, is it this in a video,
yes,
or is it something else?
It's automated, so I don't have to move things around and everything else. So yeah, it's the same thing. So we're good.
Okay.
If this is going well and I'm getting across, then you guys got to be the judge of that.
Yeah, I like it. Anyway, carry on, Claudio.
David, do you want me to say anything more before I continue?
No, we crack on, brother. It's all good. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, so
Thanks, David.
here you go. In the UDHR and the ICCPR, Article 6 in the UDHR, everyone has the right to recognition as a person before the law. This creates no obligation. It's a right. It is repeated in the ICCPR. Article 16, everyone has the right to recognition as a person before the law. Really strong, really important. Needs to be in your claims. There's a set process. Dave will tell you how it goes. I'm sure it'll be all in his documents. So here's how many times, here's the word person in Black's Law Dictionary, 7th edition. I got all the Black's Law dictionaries 1 through 9, unless there's a 10 out, I don't know. A legal person, artificial person, a human being, an entity is a corporation. Look how many times they got to use person. Why? Why do they got to do that? Because they include corporations. So that every time they got to rename it so they can protect people, whatever the hell they're doing with it. You don't need it. Don't ever use the word person. Even the one that they say is the natural person. Don't use it. Don't use it. Use human. You can use it. You can use the litigation where they say natural person, and I'm going to get into that really quick. But yeah, so here's legal person versus human. You don't want to ever be a legal person either. Life, because life, liberty, and security. It's in the international covenants. It's in most constitutions, and they talk because they have to say. So a legal person is an artificial entity, a corporation, and you're not alive. Obviously, you're designated a human. You are alive. So that, yeah, well, we need to have life. Yes, a human does have life. Does a human need liberty? Absolutely. The legal person is controlled statutes, regulations, and jail time for things like cannabis. You should never have gone to jail for cannabis. Human law is common law. Do unto others. Yeah, you'll get jail time if you break common law. Thou shall not do things to others. You know what I'm saying?
If there's a victim,
I don't want to use those not positive words, right?
When we have victims, yeah, when there's a victim, this is a big bone of contention across the realm. When we have officers, state troopers, constables, officers, whatever, saying there's a criminal offence, it's either criminal or it's an offence. And then yeah, we have civil issues that are being time taken up by the officers, troopers, collecting levy, fines, fees, and fortunes for corporations when there is no victim present. Yeah, and it's an administrative, civil issue. So may I just wind up by saying, Claudio here, he's used to the abbreviations, but if you're wondering, the ICCPR is the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, and it is part of an international bill of human rights, along with the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and the Universal Declaration of Rights. So you go on, you just say ICCPR, but if anybody's wondering what that is before you go searching.
I thought I did in the beginning, but if I didn't,
it's all good.
Yeah. There's no right? Which is it's very important.
Yeah, we'll expand later. It's all good. Just while I'm here, it's very key. Yeah, how we play this. We have instrumentation and implementation of instrumentation is key there. So, you know, God is no respecter of persons, and I hope this is clarifying certain areas for folk. I yield.
Yeah, no, perfect, because I want people to interject to make sure that the word that we're trying to get across to you comes across. So thanks, David. So examples of the switcheroo. So this is going to be really quick. The Interpretations Act in Canada. Okay, here you go. I showed you the UK one. I want to show you what they do, how they rederive when they have to remove you from the class of person and put you back to the human. They have to do that in a couple of cases. So for Canada, in every enactment, person or any word expressive descriptive of a person includes a corporation. There you go. There's the word includes with the S. So person can only be corporation, or any word descriptive description of a person. That's that long list, means corporation. So Canada's telling you right there, if you use anything to do with person, you're a corporation. You bow down to us, and that's it, right?
Even so even if you claim, sorry, but if we come across this, the all caps name everybody's familiar with, known as the strawman, the fiction, the entity, the estate, etc. But you have a natural person as well that is a legal entity, which has different rights to the all caps normal corporation type name there. So every time
they just did that as an internal game, so they know who they're up against when they come for remedy.
So this is good, because where you'd see, this is what I like about this kind of chat and chirp and chat, where we'd see the definitions of natural person then for Canada, you'd think you were in the safe part. Oh, I'm not, that's not the fiction, it's not the all caps, it's not surety, it's the creditor. Person, it's got natural, it sounds good, but then it's got the person, which is the bad part again. We're no respecter of person. So yeah, respect.
I'm going to show you that Canada does redefine it. Watch this. This is really good. Watch this. So I'm going to show you. So when you use the word person, it means corporation only. Throughout all the enactments, codes, and regulations, unless they redefine it, if one were to look at the different enactments like the Immigration Act, go figure, they want to possess some citizenships, right? The Immigration Act does not define the word. The Banking Act does, and the Criminal Code of Canada does. I wonder why. So this is really important. You got to look at your interpretation code. Every act, make sure you go to the definition section and see if they're playing the game. They'll probably be doing the same thing in every country. The Immigration Act won't. The Banking and the Criminal Code will, because here you go. This is the Bank Act, all right? Here's the Bank Act. In their definition section, person means a natural person, an entity, or a personal representative. Oh, well, which one are you? How will you know which one you are? How do you know which one they're talking about? If you stand under there and you want to be a person and you haven't never made a claim, they're gonna guess which one they're gonna put you into. An entity, a personal representative. But they had to rename the natural person in there. Why? Because when you go to get paid, and you won't get paid under all caps, right? If you go there and seek remedy for breach of the international covenants, they got to pay you remedy, and they're paying the natural person. They can't pay the corporation. You've already opted out. So, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? They had to redefine it there. Where else do they redefine it? They redefined it in the Criminal Code of Canada. There you go. Everyone, person, owner, included. Look at that. And then they put the word include. So that means anybody else can go in there under criminal. But everyone, by definition, is human. So the Criminal Code can't throw a corporation in jail for doing something not good. So the Criminal Code had to use the word everyone so they can throw a human in jail. But they can throw the person in jail too for doing cannabis, because you don't know your rights. It's that simple. Oh, they've got it in here. They had to. They had to put it in, or they would have been in breach right from day one. All right. Some examples of Supreme Law of Fundamental Rights and Freedom. I'm just going to, a couple of them. Here's natural wealth and resources. ICCPR Article 1.2, all peoples, which include humans, may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources. So I'm not going to read the rest, okay? Your natural wealth and resources are yours to do what you want with. You don't have to pay taxes. You can pay taxes if you want. If you think it's a good thing and nobody's taking any money, nobody's making profit, and you're going to build a road or do something together, yeah, I want to chip in. I understand. It's good, but not if somebody's going to be taking my money so that they can gain their wealth. It's right here. There it is. Bingo. Done. Also in Article 47, Nothing in present covenant shall be interpreted as impairing the inherent rights of all peoples to enjoy and fully utilize their free and freely their natural wealth and resources. Okay, one more thing I just want to quickly talk about is the Indian Act, and then I believe we're done. So here's the Indian Act. In Canada, it's going to be the same everywhere. Indian means a person. Done. Game over. They're still classifying you with restricted, limited, certain rights. They've classed you as a corporation person. You still belong to Canada. So you can get things? Wow. Yep, you're a corporation. So they had a feeble attempt here to show you with an or. So who pursuant to this act is registered as an Indian or is entitled to be registered as an Indian. So they're playing words. And that's it. More to follow from SPLS Pro and iUdemy. That's it. I got all kinds more examples I can go through. I got examples of how you don't have to wear a mask, how you can stand out in public, what you should put inside your videos when you do them, because you have all those rights when you claim them that way. And every corporation must uphold common law. YouTube, Google, all them. You can give lawsuits to them if they take down something that has nothing to do with hate speech or anything else. If it's truth and it's positive and it's loving and it's gonna take down these guys, they can't do anything. You can sue them. And guess what? Many CEOs all over the world are going to get sued for the poisoning of Monsanto. Monsanto helping everybody stock their shelves to illegally create their stock market to go up. Illegally non-sold inventory stays unaltered and has infinite shelf life because it's full of poisons. That's what the whole game was. Ponzi scheme. Chrysler does it. Everybody else does. So thank you. Just a couple credits from the people that I got their images from. God bless them. And as David says, I yield.
Oh, thank you, Claudia. That was brilliant. Yeah, do we want to finish now, as that's been said, quite a lot's been said today, and obviously we want people to digest it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. This is a great start, I think. And then Dave, whatever you want to add in at this moment, or we'll be back. Either
David?
one.
Yeah, I'll be brief, but because there's a lot to explore within that, you see, whereas we've got a lot of work and studies going into our 4th year this December, so we've collated and professed and articulated many and various areas of cutting edge, I don't know, in this renaissance, and every week, if not day, something new comes up on the horizon and additional too. So we're simply putting more strings in our bow to make a more powerful shot and to hit the mark. And we have a list of priorities of how we communicate, the language, the style, and who and what and where. I've sent Claudio some raw files that we are looking at, notices, declarations, proclamations, and we've got a lot of, things to consider here. But the mixing of church and state is where we find ourselves and why we find ourselves here. If for Anglo-Britain, terra firma, Anglo firma here, that we've had the 1066 Doomsday Book, and the land and the proclamations and the divvying up in kings and wars, and the bulla papilla from the unam sanctum, and the claiming of
David, isn't it? It's a good start to try, because obviously you know it much better than everyone else.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that for everybody, yeah, it's reassuring, because this will tie in, because whereas some folk are thinking, or brothers, sisters, initiates will be thinking, who does this work for? How do you use it? It'll blend in with just about everybody, and because we've got many and various claims put upon us, these declarations and evoking, much like we showed with the common law, when we've always had statutory and common law arguing against each other with sometimes constitutional input. We've now got common law, statutory law, and then we've got the equity and trust and the positions within the triangle we've shown you, and the autograph with the thumbprint and the living flesh and blood biblical grant, or set law legal. So we can use these on their own, and they can, they can stand on their own, and they've stood the test of time. And we can use the definitions like where we've said person and legal and entities and all caps and lower, and the grammar, the text, the subtext, and the context within all of this. It's not normal
really great
language.
how Claudio sort of explained about the S and what the S means.
Yeah, well, that's applicable to births, deaths, and marriages and birth certificates. We've talked about that before, and that's why I said this rings true with the, and then the Justinian deception. I think it was Romilly and Rowan picked up a couple of days after my cast about that, and went on about New South Wales and Australia and the Queen's linkage there about includes and what lands, and yeah. So we've got what I was going to say is we've got some real strong points here to say that you have a right to be recognised. This is just one of many. It's not the only thing we're taking from it, but to be recognised. But you have the right to remain silent, in other realms as well. You have rights, so you can evoke those rights.
You've been going on quite a lot. You've been going on quite a long time about common law, haven't you, David? You've mentioned it quite a lot on our Hangouts.
Yeah, it's key and imperative that we've just got a lot of definitions. It is public, and it won't defend your property. But we have rulings where if the argument say if you can't get a remedy at common law, statutory public area level, and you evoke the rulings of equitable realms, the equity and the realms there, you will get a remedy, more often than not. So, like with what we've shown you with the argumentation of the statutory common law, sometimes constitutional, then the introduction of equity. This is common law, international common law, and it's recognised and stamped and validated. And if you breach these ones here, this is equivalent to starting a war, I would argue. I'm not saying this is no legal advice here. But if you can prove that someone's breached your human rights, it's effectively your rights to your property.
Why didn't that court case?
This is why it's good. This is why I'm liking this, because it cuts through, and it's effectively, if you can prove in a court of law you've been damaged and your human rights have been breached, you're in for a big win, because it's effectively like somebody starting a war on you, because they've disrespected your rights. So we can cut out constitution, statutory. We can still use what we've learned, but this will basically gold plate our armour. So you're feeling me? I yield.
Yeah, thank you, David. That was really brilliant. But you just made me realise something with what Claudio's been talking about, because there's a court case out right now, and they don't use any of those words in that court case, and they don't even add half the names, because I think other people should be on there. But that's probably explained that court case isn't real.
I'm not sure what you may be referencing.
Well, I put a court case out that's come up where an AI company is taking all these people to court, including Barack Obama. They're all in there. Companies, Google, you name it, they're all in there, except other people aren't in there, because obviously other people shut us down, told us to wear masks, told us to clap for the NHS, shut the economies down. Anybody that got involved in that needed to be on that document, because it's about genocide, it's about concentration camps, it's about taking our rights away.
I'm with you now. The Sarah Jasara tip.
And this is what use any of those words that Claudio has written. Didn't use. I don't remember reading any of those words in there. So that is.
It's because what we find is, because this is when we know we're right, because we find in all of the only constant out there in YouTube, Facebook, and the various 4chans and Reddits and other domains that we can get information and help and resources from, is that there's a common, no, not all of those ones, but generally Reddit and 4chan are a bit more honourable than the other ones. But Facebook, the mainstream media platforms have thought leaders on there. They have the same commonality between them, which is the information they leave out. They have many and various claims and methodologies and fees and schedules and donations and documents and cards and everything like this, but they won't go to where the guts of it is, like what we found. You have the right to recognise there is something here in your face, like we need to rewrite the Magna Carta. It's already been done, as Claudio said. Here, look, this is it.
Do you think it's a good time to stop now, though, David, with all that information? Because some people, they're just
pin it.
Yeah. Well, I know that you two have been working together, and I know that it's brilliant. I just hope everybody enjoys what they're being told, because it's I like the saying, what is it, power to the people, to be honest, or power to the humans. Is that a better word?
See, yes, see.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we've been going for an hour now. Masses of information. We're going to be back. There's going to be other parts to this. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, to David, mwah, to Claudio, mwah, in the chat room. We'll be back, won't we, guys?
Absolutely. Love you all. And thanks for your time. Thanks, brother. We're going to have a lot more work ahead.
Yes, you're right. That I got to fight for your rights to party, to exist. It seems at the minute. So, yeah, the mandates for the mandatory assumptions that may be coming. We shall rebut all of this with full reproach. So, thank you, brother. Thank you, sister. Lots of love, and thank you to the room, to the initiates and scribes. Bless. Bless up.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Claudio. Thanks for everyone for listening. Bye from us. For now, that is.